Do you have shoulder pain? I bet you do, or you wouldn't be tuning into this video. I am Dr. Melissa Lockhart. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years, and I have some techniques to help you with your shoulder pain. Most shoulder pain is caused by posture issues, which has a lot to do with muscle weakness. So some of these things are going to be exercises, and I'll show you some great techniques to deal with this at home. You don't even need a gym. One of the main components of shoulder pain is actually poor posture. What you can notice with certain people is they stand like this, and this may be you. Shoulders roll forward, chin kind of pokes out front. What we want with our posture is for our shoulders to be back and down here just like this. You want your ear in alignment with your shoulder, in alignment with your hip, and in alignment with your ankle. You don't see a lot of people who have posture that's that corrected. Generally speaking, if you create the proper muscle strength around the shoulder joint, then shoulder pain goes away. When your shoulders roll forward, that means that the muscles in the front of the shoulder are short and tight, and the muscles behind the shoulder are stretched too long and they're really, really weak. So in order to correct your posture and therefore help your shoulder pain, then you want to create back strength and rear delt, posterior shoulder strength, things that get your posture corrected, shoulders back here where they belong. The other way this can show up is if you find that when you lie on your side at night and it hurts, or you're lying on your side and your arms go to sleep, or your arm goes to sleep, that's a sign that your shoulder has rolled forward and is compressing all of these elements in the front of the shoulder. So you're going to feel that in the arms and hands. These exercises are good for you too, if that sounds familiar. So the first exercise I want to teach you guys is for the rear delt, right back here, posterior shoulder. So good for getting those shoulders back here where they belong. I'm going to use 5-pound weights. You know, you don't even really need weights. If you're pretty deconditioned and you're pretty weak and weights seem like it's too much for you, you don't need a weight. You can use light weights. I would recommend you don't use heavy weights because that just causes a person to do the exercise incorrectly, and it's really not going to help you if that's the case. So I'm going to show you a bent over fly. I'm going to call it a fly. It's a variation of a fly, really. And I'm going to use 5-pound weights because that's pretty easy for me. And that allows me to do the exercise really, really well with proper form. So important. You never want to do an exercise with heavy weights and you're not doing it correctly. So here is what a bent over fly looks like. Essentially, you bend over. Now, if you have low back pain, you're going to want to keep those abs really, really tight when you do this. You don't want to be leaning over for a length of time without keeping your core strong. But here is your bent over fly, and watch the movement of my hands. We start out in front of my body, and we fly these weights back, kind of on a diagonal. They're in front, we fly them back, just like this. This is a bent over fly. Very important that you get those arms up behind the plane of the body and you really extend at the top. That's how you activate that rear delt. Just like that. So now I'm going to show you that same bent over fly from the front so you can see the motion of the weights and how these muscles work. Here's a bent over fly. Just like this. Now I want you to notice I'm not lifting my shoulders up to my ears to lift these weights. That would be cheating. Keep those shoulders down and just fly those weights back like this. And squeeze at the top. Really extend those shoulders. I even kind of externally rotate the shoulders at the end, almost like opening up my hands and my arms. That really activates that muscle well. Now, back to those of you who have low back pain. If this exercise is uncomfortable and no amount of core, holding your core is helping that, we would use a chair. I'll show you that real quick. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do the same fly, but we're going to do seated instead of bent over. In case it hurts your low back, here's the way you would do this. You would sit toward the edge of your seat. My feet are right out here in front of me, knees at about 90 degrees. Weights go in front of my body, and I bring them up and back. That is the kind of fly you want to do for the posterior delt, which is the really important muscle to correct your posture and to help you correct your shoulder pain. Lots of squeezing at the top of this exercise and a little bit of opening up of the arms to really externally rotate that shoulder and grab that muscle. That is what that looks like. Now, if you've been taught a fly as a straight lateral movement, that's a lateral raise. That's not a fly. You want to go in front of your body and really extend and squeeze those arms behind the plane of your body, just like this. So if you have been taught that a fly looks like this, that is a lateral raise. That is not the kind of fly you want to be doing for the posterior delt. That's really just for the lateral delt. You want to be out in front of your body and squeezing those weights up and back just like this. Now, as far as how many to do, the lighter the weight, the more reps you're probably going to do. If you're using a slightly heavier weights and all you can manage correctly is 5 or 6 repetitions, that's fine. So that is your bent over or seated fly. Great for the shoulder. I'm going to show you a couple more exercises also for the shoulder pain. Okay, exercise number 2 is a row. This particular exercise is for the rhomboid muscles. Now the rhomboids are the 2 muscles that bring the scapula together. They're right here. And they're in charge of squeezing those scapulas together. The rhomboid muscle essentially brings the shoulder back and down, which is exactly what you need for corrective posture. If those rhomboid muscles are nice and strong, your shoulders naturally come back and down, corrects your posture for you, takes a lot of pressure off the shoulder, helps you with your pain. Much like the fly, you can do this bent over, you can do this seated. So I'm going to show you both. We'll start with the bent over. I'm using 5s. These are nice light weights, and I kind of like that because I can do the exercise carefully and correctly, and I can just do as many as I need to until I get fatigued. So a bent over row, and it's slightly different from the fly, which was kind of a raise, right? The row, my hands are positioned differently, just like you're going to row a boat, and you're just basically rowing. You're bringing those hands straight up, flexing at the elbow. Much like the fly, where you squeeze at the top of the exercise, you're going to squeeze right here. You bring that row and you squeeze that rhomboid and you squeeze those scapulae together. Let me show you what that looks like. So bring that row up, squeeze. I believe the squeeze is the most important part of that exercise. That's where the big amount of muscle growth happens. Without it, you're just not activating that muscle as much as you should be. Now, for those of you who have low back pain and you find that bent over anything is just too much work and it's too uncomfortable, let's show you the same exercise in a chair. Okay, so for those of you that want to learn this exercise seated because of low back pain or whatnot, I'm at the edge of my chair. My feet are out in front of me. Weights are facing the floor, just like the row when I was bent over, and I'm just going to do those simple rows. And again, squeeze that rhomboid. Much like that fly exercise, you want to squeeze at the top of the exercise. You get that rhomboid nice and strong, it's going to naturally bring that shoulder back and down. Thank you, Kitty, for helping. You're in my way. So that is what a seated row looks like. Really easy to do. All right, third and final exercise. This is actually a latissimus dorsi exercise. You know, the lats are really important for a lot of things. I believe it's one of the most important muscles for posture, particularly erect posture. You know, if you want to go from slumped to straight up, it's a great muscle group to work. It's a little more difficult to work at home. If you have a gym, you know, those lat pull down machines and, you know, pull up machines are amazing for the lats. That's always preferred. But there are a couple things you can do at home. And this exercise is a really easy one. And it's, you know, it will train the lats and it'll help you with the shoulder pain you have. I'm going to use this chiropractic table because, of course, I happen to have one. But you can use your bed. And I'm also going to just keep these 5-pound weights. 10 pounds for this exercise is really enough. And again, you don't want to go so heavy that you can't do the exercise correctly. You want to go light enough that your form is perfect, and you can do anywhere from 6 to 12 reps on those. So I'm going to go ahead and lie on this table and show you how this exercise works. Okay, so you lie on your back. You can just use your bed. I've got my weights here, and I'm going to put these weights together. This exercise is called a pullover. There's a few different variations on the pullover that tackle different muscle groups. The way I'm going to show you this pullover is for those lats. So the weights are together. You could use one heavier weight, incidentally, if you have one. I'm using 2 lighter weights. Arms go over your head. And essentially, just with a light bend of the elbow, you're just pulling those weights up. You could use the floor. I prefer the bed or something like what I'm lying on because you can get your arms lower than the horizon. But this is a pullover that trains those lats. And the lats are great for correcting posture. And again, the whole idea with posture correction is to alleviate your shoulder pain. Nice and slow. Lifting weights super fast is not very effective. Slower the better, lots of control. And this is your lat pullover. That's it. So the 3 exercises that I taught you today, something for the rear delt, something for the rhomboid, something for the lats, those muscle groups are great as far as correcting posture and creating the shoulder balance, bringing the shoulder back where it belongs, down and back versus rolled forward. That will help your shoulder pain. There's other ways to train those same muscle groups. These are just 3 easy ways you can do that at home. How often? A couple, 3 times a week usually is enough. I mean, really. And I would say if you're doing 2 to 3 times a week of these exercises, you can expect to feel better anywhere from about 2 to 4 weeks out. If you have any further questions about any of these exercises or any other questions for me, reach out in the comments below.